tightening its grip. Actually, I'm going to quote the director of NASA's Goddard Institute on this. You think NASA as a space agency? Well, NASA is also a climate agency, and we are seeing unprecedented changes all around the world. 2024 is poised to make 2023 seem like a mere spring break. So it's only going to get hotter and hotter from this point on, with the megadrought's grip tightening, scorching everything in its path. The past 20 years in California, that was just the start, the tip of the iceberg. NASA says this colossal drought will span the entire continent, coast to coast, Canada to Mexico, depleting the biggest freshwater reservoirs like Lake Mead and Lake Oroville. Even the colder regions aren't spared, with Lake Superior's water levels plunging to an 81-year low. The grim reality has left millions in our country facing water deficits and strict law-enforced daily restrictions, with hundreds of thousands of wells drying up each year. And a lot of those people are digging for new wells in vain, because the water is just not there anymore. The mighty Ogallala Aquifer, our biggest underground water source, is shrinking, turning wet, fertile lands to dust. And by 2025, there might be nothing left to drill for. That's why this remarkable water harvester is a game changer, because unlike traditional sources, it's not getting water from a lake or a well, but from the air. More specifically, from the humidity in the air. Actually, this system thrives as temperature rises, so the hotter it gets, the more water it harvests. Animals and plants have used this tactic to survive and thrive in the middle of the desert for thousands of years. And Dubai has harnessed this principle to transform barren desert into lush green landscapes, providing water for millions. And with a bit of luck, I came across John, a wilderness survival expert, the man who ingeniously adapted the Dubai designs and made them work in the comfort of your own home, helping thousands of people in the US, including myself, secure their own on-demand water supply to provide fresh water for our families, no matter how hard the megadrought hits, all while saving thousands of dollars on water bills in the process. He calls it the air fountain, an unlimited self-sustained water source tapping into the humidity in the surrounding air that effortlessly eases your water expenses while safeguarding your family during the impending megadrought. This system is small and can be placed anywhere. It can be run both on and off grid, on solar energy, so it's highly versatile and portable. And best of all, it's cheap, easy to build, noiseless, and smoke-free, so it outshines conventional wells and stockpiling methods. You just turn it on, and fresh, cold water starts flowing out of the tap. That's why over 40,000 US homeowners have embraced this life-saving device. And the best thing is, you can have your own air fountain up and running today. So you too will be able to secure your personal, portable, on-demand water source to save money and protect your family and loved ones. So please stick with me for the next 5 minutes, and my dear friend John will reveal the hidden wonders of this life-saving marvel, how it all started, and how literally getting robbed for water drove him to research and adapt that Dubai design into a cost-effective masterpiece that granted his family an oasis in their own backyard, and how you too can have one up and running by day's end, giving you all the water you and your family will ever need.
Sorry, buddy, we're taking your water. I felt the cold barrel of a gun pressed against my head, and I braced for the worst, a stabbing pain in the back of my head, and I woke up in the hospital. Of all things, they didn't take our money. They took our water. How did that happen? How did we end up getting robbed for water? Hi, my name is John Gilmore, and I almost died getting robbed from my family's water supply. It's something that just shouldn't happen. Not in our day and age. But it did. And that dreadful experience forced me to look for an alternative on-demand water supply. Something that I could use day in and out without stockpiling and without putting my family in danger ever again. So stick with me for the next 5 minutes and I'll show you an amazing invention that Dubai is using to provide fresh water for millions of people while turning desert into lush green landscape. You'll learn how they generate vast amounts of water in the Dubai desert, where they can't dig wells or get it through pipes. And you'll learn how you can do it too, no matter where you live. Hint, it has to do with moisture in the air. But before we get into that, I want you to know why I got robbed, why it happened to me, and why it might happen to you too. So what I'm about to tell you right now, you might find disturbing. According to NASA, we're going to face a 100-year-long drought. A drought more devastating than the 1930s Dust Bowl that forced America to plunge into crisis and left millions of people without the basics of life, like water and food. And this is not something that's going to happen in 50 years, in 20 years, or in 5. This is already here. It's already begun, over a decade ago. The past 20-year drought in California is the beginning, and the worst is yet to come because it's about to spread. The drought is so big that it will affect the entire continent, from Canada to Mexico. And it doesn't have anything to do with global warming, but with a strange weather pattern that happens once every 1,000 years. And the worst part is, this drought will crush our American civilization with the way of life we hold so dear, because we're completely unprepared. The mainstream ways for finding or storing water to quench your family's thirst will soon be useless. And relying on them will actually make you vulnerable and dependent on FEMA, the government greedy water suppliers. Or even worse, they put a big bullseye on your house, making you the best target for looters that will kill for a sip of water. A continental drought is just like a nuclear winter. Chances are you survived the blast, but you might wish you didn't if you're not prepared for what comes next, because everything's gone. Water is either gone or it's toxic. Plants die, animals die, and anarchy sets in. Ordinary people will turn to monsters over basic needs like food and water. And one thing's for sure, stockpiling water isn't the answer. I have a scar on my head to prove just that after my family and I got robbed of our water supply. You need to be prepared. You need to have a constant, reliable, portable off-grid water source. And in this short presentation, you'll learn how to do just that. Because the surprising invention Dubai uses actually extracts water out of surrounding air. It's a portable water generator that gives up to 50 gallons of water per day. So it doesn't matter if all the wells are dried out, or if you live in the desert, where it's so dry that even all the cactuses died. This method makes you truly independent. You'll never have to rely on a water well that might dry out soon or rain harvesting, if you're lucky enough to have rain, and if you live in one of the states where harvesting is not banned yet. So please stick with me for a few more minutes because you're about to find out how to tap into nature's secret water reservoir. As I said, my name is John Gilmore. You might know me from Survivalopedia.com. I'm a writer and editor there. People usually seek my advice because I specialize in wilderness survival, and because I spent almost 2 decades studying every last type of survival situation. I try to help everyone I can, giving them practical, safe guidance that would actually make a difference in survival scenarios. And even more important, I'm a proud father and husband. I live on a small farm in Arizona with my wife and my 14-year-old son. And we're self-sufficient people. We grow our own food and built our own house. We even dug our own well to have all the water we needed. But little did we know this drought was going to hit us so hard. 2 years ago, our well completely dried out. Each year, the water level in our well seemed to be dropping more and more, and last year it finally gave up on us. We didn't really panic because we had stockpiled a water supply of about 500 gallons, and we knew it should last us long enough until we could dig a new one. A couple of nights after, we applied for a new well. I heard noises outside the house. I grabbed my rifle and rushed out to see what it was. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. 2 men were loading our water barrels into their truck. They didn't try to break in. They weren't looking for money or electronics. They were stealing the water we relied on for our survival. I felt a rush of rage and anger building inside me. I felt I could shoot them both right there on my property. But before I could aim my rifle, I felt the cold barrel of a gun pressed upon my neck. "Sorry, pal, we're taking your water." It was the third robber. He was probably on the lookout. I got caught up in the moment and I didn't see him sneaking up behind me. Before I had the chance to say anything, he hit me with his gun. I felt a thump and this excruciating pain in the back of my head, and I lost consciousness. The last thing I remember was his stench brushing up on me as he ran away. I woke up in the hospital and thank God my family was there. They were both safe and unharmed, praying for me to wake up. Honestly, I'd never been so thankful and happy in my life, being able to hug them and tell them how much I love them, being alive. I was clinically dead when they brought me to the ER. My wife found me in a pool of my own blood after the water thieves left, and my doctor told me it was nothing short of a miracle that I recovered after all the blood I'd lost. After I came back from the hospital, I just wasn't myself. I couldn't believe anyone would do such a thing. It's the stuff I'd expect to see in movies, not in my own house. But drought turns people into savages. I was angry. I felt this choking cloak of anger clouding my judgment. What happens if the drought continues? What will people become? Will they even kill for water? And the one simple and rotten answer is, yes, they will. People are already desperate. This has only just begun, and they're already turning into animals. What will they do when the nationwide drought hits? So I knew I had to find an alternative to the common water sources, something that would give me and my family water on demand without the dangers of stockpiling and the logistic nightmare of digging a new well every year, something that would be reliable both in the comfort of our home, or if, God forbid, we had to bug out and leave everything behind to save our lives. Now, having specialized in wilderness survival for over 20 years, I've come across a few concepts and working principles on how to generate water. But it wasn't something that I was really familiar with. I knew how to harvest water in the wild, but not at the level I needed for my entire family and my house. So I reached out to my contacts in the survival and off-grid community. I wanted to know more about what was causing all this and what I could do to reach my water independence goal. And what I found out shocked me. I discovered that we might be at war for water. The fight to grab the remaining water has already started in America. The big players are already stockpiling the remaining water sources. It's a covered-up civil war. On one side are the corporations, who buy all the water reserves they can, and our government, who's trying to pass EPA regulations that give the feds the right to confiscate our water on your lands as they see fit. On the other side, it's you and me, the people who have no power to fight them, all those who are forced to pay for dirty tap water or their expensive bottled water. So why are they doing this? It's because of what NASA's predicting. NASA has scientific proof that we're facing a drought that will last 100 years. A 100 years mega drought, similar to the one that wiped out the American continent 1,000 years ago. There's a reason why no real civilization developed on the American continent until the coming of European immigrants in the 17th century. Until then, North America wasn't fit for modern life, for agriculture, and for building villages and cities. Why? Because for hundreds of years, North America was a wasteland. In fact, in December 2012, Columbia University published a frightening report. They found out that from around the year 900 and up to the year 1300, there was a mega drought on the American continent. It was so extreme that we have no modern comparison, but it was the only known time and place it ever happened. The bad news is that history repeats itself, and these harsh conditions that wiped our continent are returning. This is why NASA uses expensive satellites to study water both above and below the ground. Take Lake Mead, for example. The largest water reservoir in the U.S. has now sunk to a record low. It reached its lowest level since the lake was first filled out in 1930. And that's not all. There are plenty of lakes in California just vanishing because of the high demand from households and parched farmers. The lakes just don't have enough time to fill themselves before they're drained dry again and again. And the result is shocking. Here's the picture of Lake Oroville that reveals the shriveling effects of the drought. Just imagine, when the drought starts to get worse, and there's no proof of it getting any better, lakes like these will disappear in as little as 3 years. What's frightening is there's water disappearing all throughout the North American continent, not just here in the U.S. We're turning into a desert. The Canadian Lake Superior, the world's largest freshwater lake, has dropped to its lowest level in 81 years. And that's not all. The Ogallala Aquifer, America's largest underground water source that supplies most of our wells and springs, is shrinking because of too much demand. It will be devastating to millions of people. In fact, when the Dust Bowl overtook the Great Plains in the 1930s, and the Ogallala Aquifer hadn't been discovered, the result was death, famine, and the ones that were lucky enough, relocation. We all saw or heard about the consequences. Because of drought, people's lives changed dramatically. For example, a family of 3 from East Porterville says they bathe by filling a bucket from the tank in the front yard, carrying it inside, and pouring water over their heads with a cup. Just imagine how it's like to flush the toilet and nothing happens. It's like you switched to the dark ages overnight. And thousands of crops are disappearing all throughout our country. People dying of thirst and dehydration. Old folks suffering from heat strokes. But most people don't know that that's going to get a lot worse. As the New York Times reports, on the 5th assessment of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, they mentioned in each of the next 80 years, America is expected to see less and less rainfall than in 2004, for instance, when the drought started. In fact, all these dots connect to a bigger picture. The American continent, from Canada to Mexico, is returning to the norm of 1,000 years ago, meaning 90% of the water we have now will be gone sooner than you think. There won't be any water for people to cook or wash, not even to drink. And that's when viruses will start to spread, just like it's happening in Africa. Diseases and infections that start with leaving your mouth and skin dry, then headaches, rapid heartbeats, and fever. People will fight over a sip of water just to stay alive. And because most of our crops will be gone, we'll have to fight over scraps so we don't starve. All this will lead to downright war. In the U.S., the people in power already know how catastrophic the drought will be, and that's why the corporations and our government work together to secure all the water resources for themselves. This means all the water on the American continent will be in their hands, and they'll have federal authority over your water and land, and could seize it at any time. I, for one, decided to put my family first, to protect my loved ones and our independence no matter what. I couldn't rely on wells, and neither can any American. NASA warns that 100,000 wells are about to dry out this year alone. As the drought gets worse, eventually, every well will dry out. And if the drought wasn't enough, everything happening in Europe will plunge us into the biggest food and financial crisis of recorded times. Prices on everything from bread to water to fuel are already skyrocketing, hitting record highs. The way I see it, I cannot rely on anyone but myself in the coming water war. I can't even rely on the water I might have on my land or even underground because they plan to take it from me. But what can we do? Thankfully, my friends that I reached out to from the international survival community told me about a hidden gemstone, an innovative secret technology Dubai uses that makes water from surrounding air, even in the desert. It's nothing like an expensive desalination or a huge water drilling station. It's a simple device that transforms moisture from the air around us into water. It's the ultimate portable, endless spring. A chemistry professor invented this unique system that taps into a virtually unlimited water source. This device uses the simple water condensation principle. It takes the humidity out of the air and transforms it into water. It then filters it and gives up to 50 gallons of water per day. It all sounded perfect until I found out how much it would cost me. Some greedy corporations got their hands on the technology, and they're selling these machines to regular folks. Well, regular folks who can afford to pay from $6,000 up to $10,000. They're selling them for such a high price because they know the U.S. will soon be desperate for water. It was obvious I couldn't afford one, so I thought to myself, maybe I can reverse engineer it and build one of my own. And this device was exactly what I needed. It completely eliminated the hassle of spending a small fortune on bottled water, or drilling new wells and stockpiling water altogether. And I knew it would give me fresh, clean water because it comes straight from the air, so I won't have to rely on tap water and untrustworthy filters anymore. That means it's not water from some contaminated lake or well, so you don't have to worry about fluoride, heavy metals like lead and arsenic, or cancer-causing pesticides. And the best part is, it can generate water for free because the system can be run both on-grid and completely off-grid. So not only you'll have an evergreen freshwater spring at your disposal, but you'll also be able to save money on those ever-growing utility bills. And since people in Dubai use this simple device to give them thousands of gallons of water per day in the middle of the desert, you know it's going to work anywhere, no matter how dry it is in your area. So I decided to build my own water generator, because spending thousands of dollars on one of these machines wasn't really an option for me. I didn't have the money in the first place, so I set myself a limit of $300. If it cost even a penny over my budget, I would quit the project and look for other options. First, I started to make some blueprints. I already had the device in mind, so I put it on paper and sent them to a buddy of mine that makes water coolers. He explained a few essentials I got wrong, but I knew the device was already proven to work, so it was just a matter of time till I got it right. I made some adjustments and sent him the sketches again, and this time, they were bang on. So I started working on it. I'm not going to lie, I had some hard times putting it together the first time. It was frustrating, to say the least. But after a couple of weeks locked in my garage, I'd finally pulled it off. I'd made my own air fountain, and it cost me a little less than my initial budget of $300. This device gives me up to 10 gallons of fresh, pure, and clean water per day for my entire family and me to use, and it costs less than 10 cents per hour to keep it running, less electricity than keeping a TV on, and that's if I choose to run it on grid, of course. But what if I choose to run it off-grid? All those years studying and learning survival skills and methods got me thinking, why pay money for water at all? Why not go off-grid? At least just for the air fountain. I know going entirely off-grid, house and everything, means a lot of money invested in either solar panel systems or wind turbines. But powering up the air fountain, that should be cheap and easy. I started looking for a solution. So I turned again to my friends in the off-grid community and got a lot of positive feedback and some pretty interesting ideas. I got to work, and a month later, I'd solved it. My air fountain was running on 100% green off-grid electricity. The process was rough, but in the end, I managed to simplify the designs and the materials down to basic things everyone would have access to. All it took was a car battery and a few scraps I had lying around the house and garage. Now, this is optional, of course. The air fountain works perfectly plugged in the usual grid. It's just something I know will come in handy, though, is both the air fountain and its off-grid power source are portable, so it makes a great addition for any scenario life might throw at us. When I finished putting everything together, I was so happy I found my own portable oasis that I had to show it off. I called a couple of my friends to see what I've been working on, and they couldn't believe it. Each and every one of them asked me if I could build one for them, and I did. The best part is, since I already knew how to make it, it took me less than 20 minutes to build others. And the results just kept coming. I was even able to walk some of them through the simple process of building their own foul-proof water supply and getting fresh water out of thin air, protected from the surrounding drought no matter where they lived. Everyone kept telling me to share my system with the world, but I wasn't crazy about the idea. I didn't like the attention it brought to me. But I soon realized that my minor soreness was nothing compared to the avalanche of comfort that takes over people when they realize they won't ever have to worry about their families and loved ones suffering from thirst, even in the direst situations. Plus, my wife came up with this great idea. She thought I should make some kind of step-by-step tutorial so people could put together their own air fountain. Ultimately, this is about helping people in the coming water war against these greedy corporations and our power-hungry government. So I decided my wife was right, and I started putting together a step-by-step program. And after almost a year of scrupulous testing to make sure anyone can use it, translating everything into plain simple English for a quick and easy read, and putting every single step on a clean-cut video that walks you through the entire process, the air fountain system was born. It's the only proven to work A to Z blueprint on how to survive America's upcoming 100-year-long drought, and the easiest step-by-step video guide that anyone can use to build their own thin air water generator, no matter if you have no money to spend on a ridiculous off-the-shelf $10,000 device. I put together these simple instructions so you can provide clean, fresh water for your family, no matter what's heading our way. No matter if you don't have the time or patience to go through trials and errors. No matter if you've never built anything before, not even an IKEA chair. Look, when I finished my air fountain research, I knew I had found a gold mine. The benefits are nothing short of amazing. You won't need the grid. The air fountain taps into a virtually unlimited supply of fresh, crystal clear, healthy water because the device collects moisture from the air, even in the driest deserts of Dubai, and transforms it into water. It's an endless reservoir of fresh H2O. And you'll discover how to put together your own air fountain system for under $300 in under 30 minutes of your time. You won't need the space. If space is a problem for you, you'll never have to worry again about storing water, because you only have to turn on the air fountain and it will make water on demand. Or if you want to store water, all you need to do is leave it on, and it will make as much water as you need. And the entire air fountain system weighs under 10 pounds, so you can put it in a backpack and bug out if you ever need to, without having to drag around gallons of water and break your back whenever you go camping. Plus, there's almost no maintenance required. Just put the system outside or even inside, turn it on, and you'll have fresh drinking water in a matter of minutes. And the easy-to-use air fountain system can provide you with another colossal advantage.